Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Well, we know the sound is working. I've been reading from Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta, and if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to continue. It's part 2, chapter 6. And this is, the section is, Gopal Kumar has reached Vrindavan, Golok of the spiritual world. And he's met Krishna. Very variegated version of Krishna's departure from Vrindavan on the chariot of Akrura, heading for Mathura. So this is the gopis speaking to Krishna, basically, please don't go. Text 293. How could we not die a slow death if we could no longer see you anywhere? Your beautiful smiling face, your all attractive lotus feet, and your chest adorned by all splendor. Commentary. When Krishna was getting ready to leave for Mathura, he suggested to the gopis, quote, I'm going to Mathura to satisfy my well-wishers there who have no goal in life but me. Until I return, you can keep yourselves happy by hearing, chanting, and remembering my glories. Unquote. This is the gopis' answer. If, for any length of time, the gopis cannot see Krishna's face anywhere, Utopi, either in his home or in the forest, they will surely die. Krishna might also try to accuse himself by saying that if, because of him, his friends in Mathura remain unhappy, his reputation will be ruined. But with Utopi constructed as, for whatever reason, the gopis would respond, we do not care what reason you have. If you leave us, we will die a slow death. 294. When you go off to the Vrindavan forest with your friends, eager to enjoy your coward pastimes, we manage to pass our days only with difficulty by holding on to the hope that in the evening you will certainly return. Commentary. Only, at best, a few hours can the gopis tolerate the pain they feel from Krishna's absence. If an evening were to pass without his coming home from the forest, their lives would be finished. 295. But if you go so far away on the order of wicked Kamsa, So the city and the company of his friends to the city and the company of his friends, how shall we be able to live? Thinking of the pain you will suffer away from home and what might happen to you, we'll be distraught with all sorts of worries. Commentary. Krishna might assert that in the big city, he'll be able to take care of himself with the same power he showed when he subjugated or subdued Kaliya. But still he is bound to feel homesick. The gopis cannot bear to think of Krishna's suffering in any way. 296. We cannot imagine how much trouble you will have to endure to kill Kamsa and his followers, nor how long it will take to wipe out the misery of the people of Mathura. Nor can we be sure you will remember us. Commentary. Krishna might argue that because his dear cows, his young friends, and his father will accompany him to Mathura, he will not become too homesick. So here the gopis give other reasons for their distress. Conceding that to kill Kamsa and many other demons would be a mere play for Krishna, the desires of all his devotees in Mathura will take a long time to satisfy. And if Krishna were to insist that because of remembering his dear girlfriends, he could not stay away very long, the gopis would answer, no, we're not so confident you'll even remember us. 297. Sri Sarup said, thus the gopis uttered many pitiful lamentations, which made all who were present cry till their minds were lost. Commentary. All living beings reacted in this way to the gopis' complaints. (298) The Supreme Lord somehow steadied himself, wiping the tears from his own eyes and from the eyes of the gopis. He spoke with a voice choked with feeling. 299. The personality of Godhead said, my enemy Kamsa is certainly weak. With no effort I shall dispose of him. Consider me practically returned to you already, my dear friends. Please, don't create misfortune by crying. 300. Sri Sarup said, then everyone hurried to that spot, Nanda, and the other cowherds, and Rohini, and Yashoda, and all the others, even the animals. Commentary. Everyone came to where Krishna had been hiding with the gopis, including all the members of Nanda Maharaj's household, his priests, his servants, his maidservants, and the cows, buffaloes, and other village animals. 301. Lord Hari and his elder brother mounted the chariot which Akrura had quickly brought. With great effort, Krishna withdrew his gaze from the gopis. 301. Seeing the gopis sobbing, fainting, falling on the ground, overwhelmed, and covered with dust, Yashoda also cried pitifully. 303. Though Nanda Maharaj was also miserable within, with great effort he consoled Yashoda, showing seeming expertise in taking care of the business at hand. Commentary. Here the word eva, or as if, indicates that even though Nanda seemed to be consoling his wife very competently, He couldn't actually get very far. 304. Sri Nanda said, "Don't think that I'm going to that city happily, or could ever accept Krishna to be someone else's son, or leave him there for any reason and come home alone, or lose my wits and allow him to stay there very long." Commentary. It is hardly for sightseeing that Nanda is eager to take Krishna to Mathura. Though Mathura is the home of intimate friends like Vasudeva, and it may be a great city, the reason Nanda is going is that Kamsa ordered him. And this is hardly a cause for delight. Mathura may be the home of the Yadus, but as long as it is ruled by Kamsa, it will be a disagreeable place to visit. Akrura's assertion that Krishna is the son of Vasudeva is a lie. Wow. As far as Nanda is concerned, Krishna could never transfer his affection to anyone else. Even if Vasudeva and the Yadus were to try to keep Krishna in Mathura by force, Nanda would never return to Vrindavan without him. And even if Krishna, after killing Kamsa, were to be crowned king and want to stay in Mathura to enjoy the kingdom, Nanda would never allow that to happen. Very possessive. 305. I doubt whether we or any of the Brajvasis could live for a moment without your son. So you can take it for granted that as soon as we free Devaki and Vasudeva, I will very quickly come back with Krishna. 306. Sri Sarup said, thus assured again and again by Nanda's solemn vows, Mother Yashoda became peaceful, more or less. She then made a great effort to console the gopis. She tried hard to calm them in various ways and induce them to get up off the ground. Then the cowherd men mounted their carts, and Akrura started driving the chariot. Commentary. Yashoda sprinkled water on the gopis and somehow brought them to their senses. Akrura was anxious to go. 308 and 9. The women of Braja couldn't tolerate, even slightly, being separated from Krishna. As they watched him depart, they cried, "Alas, alas!" Their faces dried up and their steps faltered, and they sobbed pitifully in great anguish, with long drawn-out cries. Their voices choked in their throats. They ran behind the chariot, their laments filling all directions. Some of them held on to the chariot. Others forcefully fell beneath its wheels. Some fainted, and still others couldn't even go forward. Commentary. Some of the gopis threw themselves in front of the chariot to stop it, or else kill themselves. 311. The cows, bulls, calves, deer, all the animals stood around the chariot, bellowing, their faces drenched with tears. Commentary. Even wolves and jackals approached the chariot to join the chorus of lamenting animals. Wow. 312. Frantic birds flew here and there above Krishna, making a commotion, and suddenly the leaves of plants dried up. (313) Stones and mighty trees fell from tall mountains. The rivers shrank and flowed upstream, leaving their creatures high and dry. Commentary. Govardhan and other mountains threw down large stones and trees. In some places the rivers dried up, stranding their flowers and vegetation on the land. And in other places the rivers began to flow upstream. 314. Seeing his most beloved devotees in such a state, churned Krishna's heart with pain and sorrow. Nothing he could do could stop their wailing, and from his own eyes he had to wipe a flood of tears. Okay. 315. The elder Vrishni, Akrura, fearing that Krishna might jump down from the chariot and go off again somewhere, supported the Lord from behind, as if affectionately concerned that the Lord might faint and fall down. Commentary. Akrura had practical intelligence acquired from many years of service to the Vrishni rulers. Now that he was finally on the way to Mathura with Krishna, he did everything in his power to ensure that nothing would go wrong. He made a show of holding Krishna to protect him from falling, but the fact was he wanted to prevent Krishna from again running off. 316. Noticing that Krishna was indeed about to faint, Akrura took permission from Balaram, Nanda, and the others, cracked his whip, and vigorously made the chariot's horses set out. He quickly drove the chariot away, swerving to avoid the animals and cowherd women who had fallen here and there. As the gopis looked on, crying woefully like kukari birds, Akrura drove off with Krishna like an eagle carrying a piece of flesh. Commentary. Akrura seemed to carry Krishna off as swiftly as an eagle flies off with its prey, and just as cruelly. 319. He drove the horses so swiftly that no one could tell where he went. Commentary. The horses were well-trained, faithful followers of Kamsa. 320. All the cowherd men, headed by Nanda, mounted their own carts, yoked to large bulls, and quickly followed Akrura. 321. Akrura brought Krishna to Lord Brahma's lake, offered him many kinds of prayers, and counseled him with a continuous flow of logical arguments, in this way restoring him to an almost normal state. Commentary. Akrura hoped that being at Brahma Radha, better known as Akrura Tirtha, would remind Krishna of how Krishna had given the cowherds a vision of Vaikuntha, and that memory might further remind Krishna of one of the purposes for which he had descended to the earth, and it is to kill Kamsa. Brahma Radha, you know that pastime? When after the kidnapping, the incident with Varuna, and they all returned. Nanda returned, and the cowherds were having their discussion. Who is he? We saw this and that and the other, right? Nanda said what he saw. and Varuna worshipped him. I've never seen opulence anywhere in this world like Varuna has, because demigod opulence. So who is he? Who is he? And then they were saying, well, maybe the personality, and if so, maybe he'll show us the spiritual world, kingdom of God. They didn't say that to Krishna, but Krishna knew, so he took them to that same place in childhood pastime, took him to the Kura Ghat, or Rama means lake, and showed them the spiritual world. As he had done earlier with the elders, he's now doing again with the Kura. That's the difference. How the people of Braja then suffered is too painful to hear. Alas, alas. Telling of this topic shatters even lightning bolts. I've said enough. Commentary. Those who hear about the misery of the Brajavasis underwent after Krishna left them will endure the same misery. So I'll say it again. Those who hear about the misery of the Brajavasis, the misery the Brajavasis underwent after Krishna left them, will endure the same misery. Therefore, in the company of those unprepared to suffer, this topic is best left undiscussed. Don't talk about it. Then interesting, Sri Parikshit said, Sarup having said this, his voice full of grief, loudly wept, dear mother, and overwhelmed by this ecstasy of pure love, he fainted. So now this reference to Parikshit speaking, it goes way back to the beginning of part 1, and then again, beginning of part 2. And the context is, according to Brhad Bhagavatamrta, Shukadeva Goswami finished speaking the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam and got up and left, and the snake bird hadn't come yet. So Uttara came to Krishna saying, I couldn't follow what he said, could you say it again? And Krishna says, well, this isn't really a normal time you ask a question like that. But sure. And he starts explaining this is what I heard, but I'll tell it as a story. So this is part 2, where the Gopal Kumar story. So he's now speaking to his mother, Parikshit, speaking to Uttara. Saying, Sarup, having said this, his voice full of grief, loudly wept, dear mother, and overwhelmed by the ecstasy of pure love, he fainted. So Sarup has been narrating, and it's actually Parikshit narrating what Sarup was narrating, etc. But now Sarup is fainting. And Parikshit's letting his mother know that's what happened. The excellent but shaken Brahmana of Mathura cried for a moment, and then by trying this way and that, he brought Sarup back to normal. Sarup then continued to speak. That's a little interlude here. He's, feeling transcendental emotion about just hearing of Krishna's departing. Sri Sarup said, Sri Rupa, Sri Sarupa, there we go. Sri Sarupa said, Krishna went to Madhupuri. where he pleased all its residents. He killed Kamsa and his followers and delivered his own parents. Commentary: to avoid the risk of again losing control of himself, Sri Sarupa changed the subject. When Krishna first entered Mathura, he blessed many of the residents, including a tailor and a garland maker for the weaver. Speaks in the weaver. 326. He installed Ugrasena, Kamsa's father, as king, brought the Yadavas back from all directions, and consoled the people of the city. 327-28. The Yadus, who had no goal in life but Krishna, had suffered greatly and were terrified of the kings favored by Kamsa. Out of concern for those Yadus, the Lord, always compassionate to his devotees, stayed with them with his elder brother. And to comfort his devotees in Gokula, he sent back Nanda and the other cowherd men. Commentary: Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He feels obliged to take care of anyone who takes exclusive shelter of him. Because Kamsa
hated the Yadus.
And to comfort his devotees in Gokula, he sent Nanda and the other cowherd, sent back Nanda and the other cowherd men. Krishna's Bhakta Vatsala. He is obliged to take care of anyone who takes exclusive shelter of him. There we go. Because Kamsa hates the Yadus, they suffered terrible persecution under his rule. Now Kamsa was dead, but Jarasandha and other powerful friends of Kamsa were still alive and could attack Mathura at any moment. 329. Father, the Lord said, first you should quickly go home with the cowherds before any of Gokula's residents die in my absence. Commentary: Krishna cleverly argued that if Nanda Maharaj were to return home, the Brajvasis might be pacified enough to at least stay alive. 330. I will soon arrange for the happiness of these well-wishers and yours in Mathura, whose hearts are so distressed. Then I will come back to Braja. Took him a long time. Commentary. Nanda should have no doubt that Krishna will return home as soon as possible because Krishna's heart always stays in Braja. 331. Sri Nanda said, before I came here, I declared to the Brajvasis that I could never believe that you were someone else's son, nor ever believe that you would abandon such friends as them and them elsewhere. Therefore, please save us, save us. Don't ever, ever, for any reason, send us away from you. Wherever you might go, by your sweet will, oh, there may we also go with you. The third 333. The Brajvasis and your mother still live and breathe only because I gave them hope. If I were to turn so hard-hearted as to go back without you, O Father, surely they would die on the spot. Commentary. All the people of Braja trusted Nanda when he gave his word that he would not come back without Krishna. To violate that word would be to sentence them all to death. Desperate to change Krishna's mind, Nanda tries to reawaken Krishna's family sentiments and the memory of his poor mother, and curiously reverses roles with Krishna by calling him father. Interesting. That's why I was struggling with the sentence. Sridham said, when you display your glories by grazing the cows in the pastures, dear Lord, and you are hidden behind trees and creepers for but a moment, we cannot bear to live. Then how can we possibly stay without you for a long time? Okay, so I think I'm going to stop there. And again, I've just been reading. It's not so much a topic for discussion. It's just giving us a picture of Sanatana Goswami's insights into the spiritual world and the different rasas, the churning of emotions that go on when persons become attached to Krishna. I guess we'll continue. I don't know if the maybe you can get some feedback. If the audience here likes, I can continue. And if like this coming up is Lord Nityananda's appearance day. So my thought is I'll start discussing Lord Nityananda topics. The late morning Saturday, evening Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Monday morning, Monday evening. So that will go there for a while. But when that's over, should I resume reading this or do we go to something else? I'm okay either way. Let's see what people have to say. I don't think I haven't been doing any comments or questions, but it's not really a comment or question.